So Siddharth Kari, alumni from Flame University, can you please go?
Yeah,
Because
sure.
you're the first one on my screen.
Okay, sure. So
Yeah.
very good evening, good morning to wherever you are, all of you. I'm very happy to be here. So my name is Siddharth. I recently graduated from Flame University, Pune. I did my major in literary and cultural studies. I would now be joining the University of Edinburgh to do a Master's of Science in Film Studies, which is basically like split between film theory and film philosophy. And I'm very happy to be here. I think it's a very important, very pertinent discussion that we're about to have, and I'm happy to contribute. So excited to see what the panel has in store.
Thank you so much. Now I will let Falak Shah, our student from Hult International Business School, to introduce himself.
Thanks, Dakshina. Hello, guys. I am from Hult International School in London, the London campus. I'm a third year Bachelor of Business Administration student, majoring in business analytics and minoring in finance. Over the past 2 years, I've had a lot of experience, not counseling, but guiding and helping students to decide if they want to go abroad or no, very informally. So I'm really excited for the first time having a platform to help people and discuss this very interesting topic of India and abroad.
I absolutely agree with you. Next, I would like to ask Adi Krishna, our grade 12 student from Shivnadar School, to go.
Yeah, I think I had a short introduction earlier. My name is Adi. I'm a grade 12 student at Shivnadar School. And personally, I'm looking at applying abroad and studying abroad. And I hope discussion about why I am looking at studying abroad, what the experience of different people who've studied there has been, and hear different perspectives and see if we're able to help bring a different, interesting conclusion or discussion on this topic.
Same here. Finally, I'm going to ask Sonal Gupta, a student I've come to know at a lot of events like this in the last couple of months. I'll let her go.
Everybody, I'm Sonal Gupta and I'm a grade 12 student at Rajdhani Public School, Sector 45, Gurgaon. So I believe that this topic is really important because honestly, till last year, at this point of time, I didn't even know that I'm gonna, think of studying abroad. But something I always kept in mind was profile building, which I always did from class 8th itself. So I would like to hear about what your guys' views on it and any help if I can just provide from my side.
Of course. Okay, thank you so much for those great introductions. I think now we can go ahead and talk about a few questions that people would find interesting when we talk about this. So my first question is for Siddharth. Um, I'm going to ask you about the importance of factoring in context while choosing the relevant location for higher education. Um, I think in everyone's life, there are a lot of factors you need to think about when moving abroad. Um, you do have a lot of variables. I had the same when I was thinking about Canada and Huron. So go ahead. What do you think about this?
Thanks, Dakshina. So I think for those who are sort of in that phase of deciding whether they want to stay on in this country or move out, I think one extremely or maybe one helpful thing to factor in is how important is context. So especially in terms of someone who was extremely interested in the arts and the humanities and by extension social sciences, I think staying on in India for a bachelor's degree was extremely fruitful in terms of being more grounded in the context. What happens is very often, um, even if it's at a slightly subconscious level, where you study really impacts your politics, your understanding of the society around you, and inevitably creeps into the kind of courses or it inevitably creeps into the kind of pedagogy that is at play in your university. So in terms of say if I were to do the same degree, if I were to study literature west or wherever, I mean in whichever country, perhaps the sort of political aesthetic literary impact of that country or that sort of situation would be more prominent as opposed to India. And considering I was extremely interested in a more local and like a more nuanced context in terms of India, especially aesthetically and politically. I think that was a huge role, and it really sort of understand certain things that I may have missed out on were I to study abroad. So I think context, especially if you're interested in social sciences and humanities, always and invariably plays a huge role. And I think that's one thing to consider. But I'm really keen to know what, say, Adi and Sonal have to say about this, because I think they're in class 12 and maybe they may have a different approach to this. But context for me was key because it always creeps into whatever you're studying, consciously or not. So
Yeah, I really like hearing that because that's something I can relate to as well. Um, so my program is similar to what you just spoke about. Like, so in my governance, leadership, and ethics, we talk about the context, the political climate, how this is a topic in almost every lecture. So I do understand what you mean, and it is absolutely important. And so we'll have our students. Adi, Sonal, do you guys maybe want to take that question, offer your thoughts on it?
So
Yeah, Adi, go ahead. Adi, are you saying? Adi, please go ahead and then I'll continue.
sure. So I was just gonna say, I think that that's a very, and one that I would say I personally have thought about as well, and um, one that is generally factors a lot into, specifically if you talk about, I imagine, like if I'm sitting in a college, having discussion, especially in humanities, and I bring examples from political context that I've grew up in. So if I'm studying in the US, for example, and I take examples in the Indian political atmosphere, there'll be very few people who understand, and we'll be able to have such discussions, and the conversation would generally be centric towards more popular topics in terms of political science, etc. And I think that also extends to the culture, which is also an important point when personally I look at colleges, that there are different types of cultures that are apparently different between Indian colleges and political spheres in India versus foreign colleges, which are also very closely related when we talk about context of what discussions happen in class, especially in the social science.
So much.
Adi just covered pretty much what I wanted to say. Like, that's exactly what I feel.
That's good, Sonal. Thank you so much. So my next question is for Falak, and my question is going to be, um, what are some factors that you want to keep in mind, like uh, while thinking about maybe abroad? Why not India or why not abroad? What do you think about this topic?
Of course. So 3 years back, when I was actually deciding what I want to do, I was always, first of all, I was always keen about doing business. And business is such a subject that every major country in the world offers a certain type of business degree. So I had a lot of options. I had a lot of options from different countries, different universities. Then I had to choose what I want to do in business. If I want to do finance, then a city like London would be better. If I want to do something with programming in business, it'll be San Francisco. So it really depended. But from the start, I was kind of clear that I don't want to continue my studies in India and I want to go abroad, because one of the major factor was the kind of degree I get. I chose HALT because the HALT degree that I get is a triple accredited degree. It's accredited by the three major business universities accreditation bodies. So in the future, when I'm about stepping out to get a job, I have that good quality degree, which was rare to get in India unless you go to really good universities such as, for example, IIM. And also, India lacked a lot of full-fledged universities. For example, a good few colleges in my city were NMIMS, which is again a deemed to be university and a not a proper university. So the degree was really important for me as a business student. Getting a job in the future was again an important factor. So again, I had to look at would I earn more in India or would I earn more in the US or UK or wherever I'm going out. And this is a very straightforward, practical business student answer. It's not as complicated as a social science student would give. I'm sorry, but I'm a Gujarati. I always think practically. So where do I earn more money? Where do I get the best degree? And where do I get the proper education that I want? What would fulfill my expectations? Those were my primary factors.
Yeah. No, that's a very good answer. I'm just more grateful and glad now we have a really diverse panel. Like we don't have a panel with just social science students uh, in one space. We have a panel, a very good panel that's useful to our audience who are watching right now, and that's amazing. Yeah. So you brought up something which I think is important to talk about. Um, Employability. Um, how important is this when you are considering different colleges, whether you want to do it in India or abroad? I think this is something that students and parents look at. Um, for me personally, this was important as well. Like I wanted to make sure at least part-time jobs or um, jobs are available for me during my course program. So, what are your thoughts, Adi and Sonal, on this? Because you are grade 12 students who are probably looking at universities right now.
So for employability, that is a very important factor, I believe. So what in my case was to look for internships and co-op opportunities. And since I'm really, passionate about Huron University in particular, and I know they, offer 100% internships to each and every student. Like each and every student gets internship there. So that was my perspective of looking at it. So that I have that experience. So basically, you need to look at what kind of person you are and what kind of university you're going to, so that that university and you both resonate. So in my case, I've really, like, I am applying to a couple of universities because my parents are telling me to do that. But I'm a bit, more passionate towards Iran because I just feel that university is the right fit for me. So I believe that it's more of, finding the right fit for yourself in employability, because where you are the right fit, you are always on the top of this list in the university or the college, and then it makes a lot of difference for in your profile and whenever you go for your interviews and career options you take. So
I,
that was pretty much I wanted to say. Yeah, Adi, go ahead. Sorry.
No, no, sorry. I was just saying that I completely agree with Sonal. I think that when we talk about employability or even internships that universities offer, that those are very important questions to consider, specifically because the question is obviously after you get the degree, then what do you do? And personally, for me, one of the main factors why I am looking at university in the US is because I think that there are a lot more opportunity to get jobs or different career opportunities right after college. When we talk about good university in the US as compared to say universities in India, and specifically if we talk about average income after you come after you graduate from that school, number opportunities that they offer, as Sonal was saying during the college, so you get an idea of what exactly is it you want to get into, and specifically things that I personally am considering things such as management consulting, and then you look at all right what type of firms do actually come to recruit at these colleges, and you would find that there would generally be better opportunities that are given at university in the US versus in India, and which would mean there's a better chance of job security and good employability, as Sonal was talking about, and yeah.
Sorry, can I just add a point to what they
Of
just spoke
course,
about?
go ahead, Falak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what they said, it really matters. Of course, what kind of internships universities giving, or what kind of opportunities do you have in that country? But more than that, what really matters is how you develop as a person in that university or in that space. Uh, just an example, of course. First of all, any university in the world won't give you internships. You have to work on yourself. Your grades, your GPA, yes, that is primary, But even more than that, what employers look at, you won't get anything walked in. You have to develop yourself. Your employers will look at, and this I can say a bit more from experience because I'm finishing my degree and I have that kind of idea. What employers are looking at is what have you achieved during your university apart from your grades. Even when you're applying for internships, your grades are not their primary concern. Of course, it's the first selection criteria, but after that, they look at what clubs and societies have you been part of, or what other business, what summits have you organized, what have you actually achieved materialistically, extracurricular, in an extracurricular sense, apart from just your grades. And that all ties up to how you've developed as a person. Like, if you speak to my advisors before I joined in 2018, I couldn't talk. I couldn't sit here in front of 70 people and talk like this. I was a very shy, introverted kind of guy. And just after going to Hull, after going to London, meeting new people, not just from my own country or my own comfort zone, meeting people from different countries, from different ideologies, having that growth mindset, again really opened me up to a lot of growth opportunities and being a bit more understanding. And that's one factor that I feel that it's not easy to do in India, because in India you're in your comfort zone. You have your home, you have the same kind of people that you'll interact with throughout your 3 4 years. But when you go out of India, you get out of your comfort zone. You interact with different kind of people. You can network a bit more, and that all just adds up in building your portfolio when it comes to being how employable you are, or the employability factor.
Those are some very good points. Yeah. Thank you so much.
And
I'm
also,
really, really
I
glad
think
we're having a good discussion that someone says, "Hey, I want to join right now." Like that makes me believe that we are having a important, good discussion. Um, so thank you so much. Siddharth, maybe I would like to ask you something more. Wait, I think someone asked, "What are the universities?" Would you guys mind going around and just saying, like the places we are at right now? So I'll go first, then Siddharth, Adi, Sonal,
I'm sorry,
and
Dakshita.
Falak.
I think it's already there in our descriptions. I think they're asking what
Oh,
universities would you suggest to go. It's already there in our descriptions what
oh
universities are
yes,
there.
yes, yes. Yeah, thank you, Falak. Yeah, I believe you'll be able to see it in the corner of each of our screens. Yeah. Um, okay.
a
So
question
Falak,
there. Hello, sir. I want to study abroad. So, what do I do? By Anspreet Singh. Dakshinani would like to answer that.
which question?
There's a question by Anspreet Singh. Hello, sir. I want to study abroad. So, what do I do?
Okay. So I think I personally believe that your next steps would be to figure out which countries you find interesting, which programs you find interesting, which ones align with your goals for the future. Where do you see yourself in the next couple of years? That's what I think would be useful to look at right now.
And
Um,
also profile building. And for profile building, Anspreet, I should recommend that you should definitely join the student guide club by high school moms. The annual fee for the same is 2499, and it's the perfect platform for you to build your profile, and that's the best you can do as a student, and it will give you tremendous opportunities for profile building. So that's, I think, answers your question for profile building.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's a very good answer because I think you also kind of connected it with Falak's answer. How did you guys decide which subject you wanted to major in? So for me, I am in a liberal arts university, so I had that flexibility. I had the option to choose different courses in my first year, and then decide what major I wanted at the end of the first year, declare my majors and what I want to do with my degree. And this is something we get to do every year. So we have that flexibility. Um, and I chose based on the program that most fit my interest and my goals for the future.
Yeah. If I can just
Um,
add one thing, sorry.
of
Um,
course, yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to say I think that's another major difference, if I understand correctly, between say Indian universities and abroad. Generally when talking about Indian universities, you would apply to a specific program. Let's say if I'm applying to engineering, I'll apply to chemical engineering. or whatever, and it'd be very hard for me to change that major or what I want to study in till the time I finish my course and go to master or something else. But in say US universities, you have 1 or maybe even 2 years. In other universities across the world, you have option to shift majors, or have option to explore different subjects for year and a half, and see what interests you. And you don't have to specifically go into college this having decided that this is the major I want to study in, and then maybe turns out that you don't enjoy that much, and then you're stuck finishing that and you don't enjoy your time.
Thank you so much, Ali. Um,
Adi,
Sadab,
can I
I'm
answer
gonna.
the question?
Oh, Sonal.
Yeah, so there's this guy who was asking, so how can I get scholarship to study in Australia? Can I answer that question? Because
Scholarship to study in Australia. I think maybe this question is better answered. Do we have
yeah, so I
maybe by
just have a
recruiters?
perspective for Australia.
I'm sorry. I mean, can we push these questions to later and focus on the panel discussion?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, sure.
yeah. Okay. Thank you, Falak. I think you kind of guided us back to right on track. Thank you for doing that.
Can I just chip in in relation to this question and the previous one?
My apologies. Can you please repeat what you said?
I'm so sorry. Can I just chip in relation to this question and the previous one in terms of
Yeah,
choosing?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
You
So
can go right now. It's your.
yeah. So just one point in terms of India or abroad. I think in terms of internships and in terms of employability, that may not be as contingent on your location. Could be India, could be wherever in the world, as it may be on the discipline that you choose. And a lot of people take this very lightly in terms of they follow their heart and sort of do what they're really interested in, which is great. Which is great. I think that's part of the decision making process. Please be conscious of what you like and what you dislike. I hated science. There was no way I could have done engineering. Having said that, though, also be very aware that if you do say a finance degree or a business degree or an engineering degree, it is highly likely that you are far more employable no matter where you are, as opposed to you doing a literature degree. I did literature. It's great. I had the time of my life. I had a tentative plan of where I was to go with that. But a lot of people jump into, say, something like film and literature, thinking that it's all, it's all great and it's all very exciting. But they reach the end of those 3 years and realize that there aren't too many options after that. So please be very aware that no matter where you are probably better off in terms of employability if you're doing a business degree or a science degree. And if that is something which is extremely important for you to get that great package and to be placed at the end of your third or fourth or 3 or 4 year degree programs, choose a degree wisely and be very aware that these dynamics will always be at play. So I think that's just something which is always very relevant, and maybe not in terms of India or abroad. This is just something which is very discipline centric. So I think that's something to keep in mind.
I think those are very good points, and you are reminding me of something that we also discussed that we will talk about is peer pressure and others' opinions in the degree we choose. How much do you think this influences like students' decisions while choosing what they want to do? And what's your advice on it? What is your take on this? I think this is a good question for our audience to hear. Um, Anyone want to volunteer for this answer? And who's anyone who knows a few answer?
Definitely like to answer this because this is something I genuinely faced. So when I was in class 11th, I chose PCM and I did this subject for 6 months because my mom always wanted me to choose science and not humanities. So this is something that you should never do because I chose it to prove myself that yeah, I can do science. But when you choose any subject like that, or if you choose any degree for that matter, whenever like in colleges, by your parents' influence or by your peers' influence, and it's something you do not want to do, it doesn't work out. Because I lived the most horrible 6 months of my life, switching from like 3 to 8 in VMC, like all those things for IIT JEE preparation, and I had no interest in science, and I was still doing that IIT JEE preparation. So that's something we should never do. If you just don't take or choose any stream or career option in the sake of proving yourself, or just because your best friend is saying you to do that or your parents are saying you to do that, do what you actually like, because that's when you're the right fit for it, and then you can do actually well in that subject.
Just to add on to her point, to Sonal's point, yeah, that's extremely. Can you all hear me? Am I
Yes, Falak.
okay? So it is extremely important what she said. Just to give an example, at Hull, the selection process really depends on if you have that Hull mindset. And just to use it as an example, because they do that because we have got really smart students, but they were not able to fit in to the university. They had the grades, they had the best knowledge, really smart, four out of four GPA, but they weren't comfortable doing the subject. They weren't comfortable with learning in such an open environment, and they couldn't really go forward with the program. And it's the same thing with any other discipline you choose. Okay, you get peer pressured into this, that, but once you actually start your uni, okay, your first year will go amazing, and maybe when in your second, third, or fourth year, when the pressure really builds up, and when apart from academics, you have to put your personal love and knowledge into that subject, it will get really difficult if you're not interested in that subject. I have a few friends who are doing engineering right now. They were never keen on doing engineering, but now they're just slogging through their course because they want to get it done, and that's not some, and not because they love it or they want to excel in it. So even before you choose what country you want to go to, what university you want to go to, it all comes back to the central point that be sure and confident and love what you want to do. And then whatever uni you choose, whatever country you go to, it'll be very easy for you to fit in, very easy for you to cope up.
Yeah, maybe this is something that our group agrees on. That whether
Actually,
it's our passions and the things that we value that we have to choose based on, instead of external factors. We have to look at things if we genuinely find it interesting, rather than from everyone else's perspective. I think that's a good point
that's the
for us to meet
famous,
at.
Idiots dialogue, like Farhan says, "बन भी गया तो बहुत बुरा engineer बनूंगा अब्बा." So it's like that. If you do not have interest, you may do it, but then you won't be able to succeed in it.
Thank you, Sonal, for in movies into this. That was really cool. Um, yeah. Um, okay. I'm glad we have that kind of merging point. Um, and I think my next question for you is something we all kind of touched based upon when we talked about other things, when we talked about course options and things like that. So, what about personal growth? What do you think about personal growth in terms of us making this choice? And do you think it differs in terms of which age you do it, like whether it's an undergraduate degree or a master degree? Like, what are your thoughts on it? And I'm going to ask Siddharth to go. Since we had a lot of speakers for the last one, I will let you take this one.
Yeah, so I think I can speak in relation to my experience at Flame Pune, which was great. I think I could have asked for a better place to grow as an individual and do my bachelor's in, because at the outset, I think I met a lot of like-minded people. I was studying something that I really, really enjoyed. It was great faculty, and I really, really, yeah, it was a very stimulating experience. But I think more specifically, just to be more specific, in an academic context, what I really enjoyed, and I think the biggest takeaway from university were the two sort of flagship programs that Fame had. In terms of one internship that was we had to do in some with some NGO or any sort of organization that was doing some form of social work, and another which is called the Discover India program, where we had to undertake a year-long research project and sort of even go on field for a fortnight and conduct personal interviews and make a documentary. It was a very hands-on experience, and just this ties into what I said about context and about growth. And for me personally, it was very important to widen my understanding of context, sort of widen my understanding of where I came from. And I think these two programs really. So I spent one summer working in a town in Uttarakhand. I was teaching English there, and another where we were researching on food and memory in Chandni Chowk. And I think these two experiences were very sort of really really helped really sort of helped me understand my context and sort of where I came from better than how better. And I think that was very enriching. So I think it always, in terms of whether India or abroad, makes sense to really dive deep and see what kind of curriculum is at play, what kind of pedagogy works well with you, suits you, and how. I mean, I think you just need to define your theory of personal growth and see the university that best fits it. So I think that's the way to go about it. So I think that was the case with me.
Just to add on to Siddharth's point, yes, what he said is very important. Getting out of on the field, getting that experience, very, very, very important. But as the panel is India or abroad, let me give you my example of what growth I experienced in London, and then you can compare it to Siddharth's. A very good example I give a lot of people is that right in my first year, in my first semester. Okay, before that, let me just give you an idea. So HALT has something called clubs and societies, where it gives students £1,000 to start any club or society they want. So we have and the £1,000, 1 lakh rupees. So we have the HALT Management Consultancy. We have the HALT Beer Tasting Society, Chocolate Tasting Society. So we have various things that you can do. So right in my first semester, my friend and I, we started a society called Extravaganza that organized trips and parties, not a professional society, but more on the fun side. And again, in my first semester, I had a chance to organize a business summit for startups with my seniors. And this was a purely student run initiative. And we had people coming from HSBC, Barclays, from in San Francisco, Tesla. We had a lot of companies come in, and this was not recruitment. This was just an opportunity for people to understand what's happening in the field and to create connections. And this was right in my first year, first semester. And throughout my semesters, I've had such experiences. And these are not for academic points. You don't get any credits for this, or you don't get any, you get a certificate, but this is just to build your CV and to build yourself. So, right, getting this experience is my first year, meeting these people, networking in the industry actually helped me get an internship right now in my third year. And that's what, again, is really important, getting out there, networking, and that's just for business. But you have such opportunities abroad. And when I talk to my friends in India, it's again a more practical experience. You do internships, you do research projects. But out of India, it's more to the students, and it's a much more realistic approach, I would say. Uh, and that's the stark difference that I see. You can get hands on directly into the industry right in your first year. But a word of caution, that's not every university. HALT is a small, purely focused business school. It does not have any other subjects. It does not have 30,000 students, and that's why we can do this. But any other major university you go to India, your experience will be, in terms of practical knowledge, will be somewhat close to the experience you get in India, because again they have a huge volume of students.
I think just to echo what Falak is saying, that I think not only if we're talking about academic stimulation or career opportunities, networking, I think life beyond the classroom is one of the factors that is important for me specifically. I think that when we talk about personal growth, a lot of it happens not specific to what you're learning in the classroom, or you're doing research or networking or internships, but rather through different experiences. And it's, I think personally, that foreign universities have a lot more focus on holistic development through extracurricular activities, through different opportunities, as Valak was saying, clubs and societies of different types, which I think is personally very important for me. Have a great college experience, to learn a lot, and obviously to grow as a person. And I think which is something which, as he said, is missing in Indian universities. And is one thing that I think is very important specifically for me.
Can I again interrupt and be a talkative panelist?
Okay, sure. We do have a few minutes, so I'm gonna ask you to keep it as short.
Okay,
Uh,
quickly, as short as possible. Just to add on to these out of class learning experience, it relates to my first point. The people that you meet, it's really important. The different cultures, so cultures, the kind of people, and the networking you do. You'll have more opportunities out of India because, of course, there are students from a lot of different countries compared to India, where you have students with one particular mindset and culture, which even I had before I went abroad. So that again adds on to your personal growth.
you know, our group does did talk a lot about abroad and how diverse our experiences get. Um, but I also want to look at. I want you all to think about before we end, maybe a few points that make studying at home, studying in India special, and studying in India helpful? And maybe how can our audience maybe incorporate that if in case they do study in India now and decide to study, in the future as masters? Like, do you understand what I mean? Yeah. In that case, what do you think would make their lives more diverse and enriching? Um, Anyone want to volunteer for this question, or should I pick? Okay, Falak, go.
Very talkative, but just one thing to remember, one difference I think you all would have understood is being proactive. A lot of times what happens during your studies, you're just your target is just to get that A or just to get that particular GPA. But one thing I've learned is you have to be proactive. If you're in India, be proactive. Get on LinkedIn, connect with different people. Be proactive. Do business. Undertake business ideas. Undertake startups. You will fail, but you will learn a lot. And being proactive also means that you get out of what you've studied and you apply what you've studied a bit more practically. And that will happen with building your network, meeting new people. And even in India, there are a lot of, not a lot, but there are quite a few business summits that you can attend. There are seminars that you can attend. There are courses that you can do online that'll add to your CV. And it's all about being proactive and what how much drive and passion you have. And if you have that sufficient drive and passion to build up yourself, build up your CV, then you can even do it in India.
Thank you so much. That's a good answer. And I don't mind you being a talkative panelist if you're giving good points. So that's a good job. And thank you for that. So we're close to our end. And so thank you so much for our audience for sticking along this long. We talked about employability. We talked about just India or abroad, personal growth, factors you have to think about, peer pressure, so many important topics. I really hope you gained as much value as I did, hearing from these amazing students who are doing great in their different places. Um, so my last question before we're gonna wrap up. My last question is, um, whether you're going studying abroad or studying in India, when you're away from home, what's something that you would want to take from home so you feel closer to home? I'll ask Siddharth to go first. Siddharth, Adi, Sonal, and Falak.
Tons. I think it's always a very difficult and daunting process. I think I mean there are obvious things like your friends and food, but also I think the sense of comfort and that sense of belonging, which sometimes may take a while to build wherever you go to. So I think, yeah, I'm going to just keep it short because we're out of time. But that's my, yeah.
Adi?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. It's one that I haven't thought about. I personally think that it's small little things that have hold a lot of value in terms of memories that I would like to take. But also, it's kind of you move abroad. It's a fresh start, and you like to keep as much space and an open mind as you can for new experiences and new people. So yeah.
Sonal, go. I think you're muted.
So in my case, I would definitely take my stationery with me because I cannot live without it. But yeah, apart from that, a lot of happiness and enthusiasm is something I'll take to abroad so that I adapt there well and I fit in the space well. The way I always just look up to it and the way I want to live my life independently alone. So if I would wish, I could just take my family away, but that's not the thing we can do, right?
Thank you, Sonal. Falak, and then I'll finish off our amazing event.
The most important thing, food. A lot of Indian food. That's the. I've stayed 3 years over there. I have my photos for memories. I have everything. The only thing that I miss is food. A very let down of an answer, but that's my honest answer.
No, you know what? I agree with you. I think food is almost 90% of home. Like when I eat my own home food, when I'm away from home, I feel very close to home. So I agree with you. And yeah, and everything that you guys said was, they're all meaningful points. And I think uh, that gave an insight to everyone in thinking about moving away from home for college. Um, yeah, you're great for joining us today and giving your great insights. I wish you all the best. I wish our audience the best to go forward from this, and good luck. Yeah, thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
everyone. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye, take care. And
Bye.
also, people who are watching us right now, you can join the HSM Student Guide Club now because we will be taking some good questions there if you wish to. Thank you.